transformed, but the society does not. They love their performances. When they're there on stage, they just love them and really treat them as artists. But after that, will they give them a job? Will they help them to settle themselves when they come out from the jail? You know, if you've done, as I said, if you've done something wrong, you will be punished. If you go against the law, you will be punished. But even after they have been punished, when they come out, we don't forgive them. We keep punishing them by not accepting them. Now, if they are transformed, I think everybody deserves a second chance, if not a third. My boys, my girls, they're all well settled. As I said, you know, one boy, he works in the brick field because they're mostly from very humble background. Most of them are uneducated. So education, I think, is really very important. And I have no clue as to how to educate them when they're all adults. You know, it's an uphill task because by then they lose interest in being educated. They just want to earn a living, which I think is very practical because they have to take care of their families after a certain age. So when they come out, they don't want to go and study. They want to earn a living. But who's going to give them that job? Hardly anybody. But you'll be, this is what I have learned. It's a revelation for me. The ones who come from the villages have a better life after release. In the villages, they are accepted back, not in the cities. I have seen this happen for the last 10 years. And each and every time, it's the same story. So if you can, in any way, help in creating a project, because you see, I'm just a dancer, as I keep saying. I'm a dancer. My education in life has been life itself. Whatever I am today, whatever I'm doing today, is what life has taught me. But not everybody is fortunate to experience what I have experienced. It's not easy to walk into a jail and do things, especially being a woman, let's face it. It's not easy to handle boys who have been into serious crime. I did not go there to transform them. Everything happened. Why I call it love therapy is they all crave for love. And I don't think there's anybody in the world, maybe there will be exceptions, who will not respond to genuine love and concern. So sometimes I appeal to people, it's not that I'm always successful, to at least arrange for a startup kit for them. They don't have to invite them to their companies or their homes for jobs. For these people, they can have a little tea stall. Even for that, they need some fun. If they can get that, they can start doing something. You saw one of my boys who started a little fruit juice shop. And I remember Metro Cash and Carry had offered to help him initially with the juices and things like that, which was very kind of them. The other boy was an excellent cook. You know, they have quite a meal for me on my birthdays. They cook it themselves. So I know this boy used to really cook well. So one of my friends gave him a job in his restaurant. But how many people will come forward and give them jobs? So they need to survive. The section I'm also working with are now the juvenile offenders. I cannot show you anything because they are not allowed to be photographed. they cannot, their faces can't be shown, so I just do it quietly. Their problem is of a very, very different type. I go to them and they're extremely naughty. They are from age 10 to 17, they're juveniles. And even some of them, out of 40 boys, 12 of them are into murder cases at that age. Which means they are used for different kinds of crimes by the older ones. Anyway, but they're there. So when I tell them that, how many of you want to study, go to school when you go out from here? About 12, 13 of them raised their hands. But one of them told me, but our school will not take us back. Which is again a hard reality. So I have decided to have 4 centers in north, south, east, west of the city, where I have approached 1 or 2 schools, and their Interact clubs have, they're very keen that the children will come and conduct classes with them, by turn, so that they can continue, and a little vocational training center for them, because not all of them will be academically bright. Many of them are school dropouts, so that they can learn something which they can sustain themselves with. And I think once they can do that, they will not want to go back to crime. What happens is when they are not, I'm talking about the older ones as well as the juveniles, when they're not accepted back, when they are not given that second chance, just for survival, they go back to crime, because that is where they will be accepted and they can sustain themselves. And I'm also involved with the transgenders. I've just started a couple of months back, so I have not been able to do much of documentation with them. But these transgenders, I don't know. I don't know if they are in this condition in other parts of the world, but yes, here in India, and I'm talking about India because I work in India, yeah. They are in a very, very pathetic situation. I will tell you just about 2 of these girls. I mean, they are men who are now girls. She used to be one of those, not a bar dancer, but she had to go and dance in different places where the people were sitting all around, most of them intoxicated. And they would even break the bottles and make that girl dance on those broken glass pieces. If she didn't, she would be beaten up. Then she came back here, tried to join one of the, she had passed her school. She went to a college where she was ridiculed, being asked, which washroom are you going to use? Are we human? How can you do that? They are not criminals. They are what they are as they were born. They're God's children like you and me. This other girl she was not forced to go into, she was a sex worker because her family didn't accept her because she used to dress like a woman. So by choice, she became a sex worker, and she made some money, and now she's doing her master's in psychology. But they really have a very tough time in society. So if you can brainstorm and think how we can help them stand on their feet. There are men, they're all activists. People think they're aggressive. They're not. It's just a survival kit for them. Unless they're that way, people will just treat them like filth, which they do. But at least sometimes they fear them and they don't do anything. So these are all my different sectors of work, if you call it, of my life. And I'm only involved with people who are ostracized or looked down upon in society. Yes, I don't really work for street children or slum children, because there are many people who are doing that. And at least they have the support of their parents, of their families. They want them to be educated. But my grandchildren, as I call them, you can't imagine the amount of running around I have to do just to put them into a school. Nobody is willing to take them because they're somebody's child. The child hasn't done anything wrong. I have to educate them, and that's a challenge for me. I'm doing it in my own small way. But again, if you can think of a module or something which I can use to put it up in the corporate, we are just a group of few women who do this. And it's difficult for everybody to do anything because they can't go into the jail. Like, they can go into the women's because the children are there, so they have the permission for that. But in the men's jail, it's only me and me alone. So unless one is physically involved, they lose interest in doing anything because they don't understand exactly what is happening. But I've been doing it for 12 years and I have been able to sustain till now. I don't know how long. Thank you so much. I will take questions from you, and any proposal that you can help us with. I must share this with you. I went to the US this March. Any of you from the US here? No. I was there for a conference on Shakespeare in prison. They do a lot of theatre, especially Shakespeare, in the US especially, and other parts of the country. It was a world conference. And I was the only one who was representing India. When I went there, I learned so much. And this documentary was screened, and they gave me a standing ovation, rather the documentary got a standing ovation, and they all started calling me Mama Roy. For the simple reason, maybe because nowhere in the world are prisoners allowed to go out of the prison to perform. Whatever performances, and mind you, the performances are of a very, very high standard. The Shakespeare theatre that they do. But they're not allowed to go out and perform. They have a few guests who come, they watch, and that's it. They're not allowed to go out. So maybe that is what startled them. You saw they're walking around on the beach, on Juhu Beach in Mumbai. They go shopping when they go out to perform. And they're all over, and they'll come back. And if I give them time, I must share this with you. If I give them time, I said, you have to be back in 40 minutes. It will not be 41 minutes. It is the guards and the police who accompany them. They come back late, but not my children. They're that disciplined. Now in the US, I was invited to, I went to Los Angeles from San Diego, where the conference was, and they invited me to a Los Angeles prison to take a session with them. And that was the first time they danced. They must have been doing it before, but in a group together in a more structured way. And I made them dance to an Indian song, and then to that song, My Heart Goes On from Titanic. And we did, it was very, the movements were very universal. And it was just how I felt, which I suppose they felt, and it was such a joyous, joyous experience for all of us. And later on, they told me that, Mama Roy, something in our head just got released. that's what dance does, I suppose. It makes you feel free. And that's all I work for, the liberation of spirit, of the soul. Thank you. If you have any questions, or maybe I've talked a lot and you have no questions to ask. Yeah?
How do you manage the funds, like are the funds from some kind of donations or your bootstrapping, or how do you manage to do so much just by yourself? Like,
difficult question. See, initially I had to fund it from my own pocket. Initially. Now for the performances, they are invited to go and perform. So whoever invites them, they pay for the expenses or for that day, right? I have some friends who, fund us regularly, maybe a small amount, but it's a regular donation. I wouldn't say I don't get any government funds. I have not tried for one. I don't have the time to do all that. And as I said, we are a very small team of volunteers who do this work. We don't even know what we are doing, but it's being done. So it's only private funders who help us sustain. And you see, everybody wants freedom, right? Now for making one of the productions, I ran out of funds. So I started selling my jewelry, my gold jewelry. So I was asked by some people, I said, are you mad? Are you crazy that you're doing something like this? I said, firstly, they are my children. I'm doing it for my children. And secondly, most of us, we keep our jewelry in the locker in a bank. And it remains there. So I said, even my jewelry are feeling free. That they're not locked up in a locker. And they're coming into use for somebody who need that help. So they are also liberated, my jewelry. They're also now. So I'm running it, but I would like to do much more, especially their rehabilitation program, the children's education. Now they're going to Don Bosco, only one is left, who will be passing out next year. The others, one of the 6-year-old boys, I'm trying in Hope Foundation or Future Hope. So these are, and also Ramakrishna Mission. So these are all free schools, but they're very, very good. So I'm trying to send them there so I don't have to worry about funds at the end of the year. And yes, for transgenders, they are at least free, they're not in the prison. But I have to do something to educate the juveniles if we don't want more criminals in the future in our society. Any other question?
How did the government and the marginal way the politicians react to your work?
Strangely, very positively. Without their support, I couldn't have done this. Not just walking in there, but also taking them out. They need to get parole. If they're going out of the state, which they do, without the government support, I couldn't have done it. But I'm thankful. They don't fund it. In fact, thrice in Delhi, they performed for West Bengal government, for our government. So, yes, they do support, and I must admit that our Chief Minister, she's very cultural minded. So she knew me as a dancer even before she became the Chief Minister. And she knew about my work, and she was very, very supportive. In fact, she has attended, I think, 3 or 4 programs herself. So I did get a lot of support, moral support. Yeah.
So what about the reputability of your project? Like, are you forming volunteers to replace you in the future, to take the lead?
Yeah, another difficult question. I've tried to take many people, especially for the dance section. I'm not worried about the children's school or the adult literacy program in the women's section, which, you know, she's one of us, and they go regularly and they're teaching us. But when it comes to the men's, you need a lot of patience, which I have not been able to sort of do much about. I've taken many people, you know, everybody wants to go and see what the jail is like and what it's like, what the people are like, that curiosity part which I spoke about. But once that curiosity part is over, they don't have the patience. You see, also because I wouldn't blame only the volunteers. It is also my boys who have difficulty accepting anybody else. I don't know why that is so. I have tried to counsel them that I will not live all your life. I will be gone before you. So you have to be able to adjust to others. He says, we'll see then. That's their answer. So it is a problem. I don't know, maybe the dance bit may not continue for long once I stop. But this is another project, I would say. I think the Rajasthan government, they are willing, especially the jail department, and somebody who works privately, she's also a researcher, to go and start the same thing in the Rajasthan prisons. So the dialogue is on. We will see to the practical part of it, and maybe in November we are going to start that, because I really wanted to spread to other places. I'll go and start it, maybe I will train the prisoners there to take charge so that they can continue, because I will be working there mostly in open jails. I don't know how many of you are aware of this concept of open jails. Have you any idea? Now, the open jails are mainly for lifers who are serving a life term, who may not ever get a release. So these open jails, you can stay with them after I think 14, 15 years of your conviction. If you have a good track record in the jail, then you have to apply, and if the management thinks that you're fine to go there, they live there with their families, with wife and child. They all have a room. But they have to find their own jobs. They work, they have to find something outside. They work all day and then they come back to the jail. So that's the idea of the open jail, where they are free to move about, but still they are, in a way, they are confined. So there are 3 in our state, and there are many in Rajasthan. So what I'll do is I will go and train the ones in the open jail so that they can go to other jails and take over if they are good, and they can become the trainers, because I can't be there all the time. So if it happens in all other states, and if it happens in other countries, like they are starting now in Los Angeles prison where I went, it was so successful, and the psychotherapist mentioned that we have never seen them open up like this. So now they are thinking of incorporating dance as well. So that's the full idea. But if your spirit is free, you're free. People who are outside the jail walls, are we all free? No. But even within the walls of the jail, if your spirit is free, then you are free. So that's how they feel now. And they sing, there's a song of Tagore where they said that freedom is everywhere, you just have to find it, because it's all within you. Yes?
These people whom you trained and who perform with you, after being released, has it ever happened that any one of them has shown interest in training people in other prisons?
They won't be allowed. You see, once you're released, the moment the news comes that you're released, you can't even go back to the ward. You have to leave. And they're usually not allowed to re-enter. So unless the rules change, they can't do it. And none of them are actually dancers. When you see the production, then it looks as though they're all dancers, but they're not. It's just that their dedication, their love, and all the energy that they put in makes it that good. And they do it all together because they really, really work hard on that. So they can't really become trainers. None of them have gone, they've chosen dance as their career, except one boy who has started a dance school, but he does only Bollywood. So he's scared to call me. Yes.
Can you say more about like when the idea to work with prisoners was born? Because I don't know, I understood you were a dancer before.
Yes. Yes.
Like how did you decide to go to a jail and do this kind of project?
My life is always very unplanned. I didn't plan to do anything. I have no ambition even now. I never had. But I was invited, being a dancer for so many years, they probably knew me, the authorities. So they invited me on the International Women's Day. Then the women, there was a female ward. They didn't have a separate prison for themselves, the women. So it was a part of the presidency jail, or correctional home, whatever you call it. And that's how I landed up in residency jail. Otherwise I wouldn't have seen the boys. And I was invited there as a guest, so I went up on the stage and said a few things. And when I came down, the girls approached the then minister and the IG. You saw him speak. The former IG was ADG also. And they requested him to request me to hold a workshop for them. So I readily agreed for the same reason, like others, curiosity. I said, I really want to know about their life here. That was my curiosity, more than about them. So when I was coming out, I was taken on a round to see the jail. It's a huge campus, huge, maybe as big as this, your campus. It's huge. And there's Netaji, our freedom fighters, Sri Aurobindo's cell. I mean, they were there. So he took me around, and that's when I noticed the boys. And believe me, I really felt bad for them. Walking aimlessly, no future. The body language spoke volumes. And I instinctively asked Mr. Sharma, I said, can I also teach the boys? He was very surprised, because people who come in, they're scared to even go near the way. So he asked me, he said, won't you feel scared? I said, no, I will not. They're all my son's age. So he agreed. That's how it started. What started as a workshop, I thought I was going to do for a couple of months maybe. Well, I call myself a life convict because I can never get out. It started as a workshop which became therapeutic without our knowledge, without anybody's knowledge. It was all a very natural happening. Maybe that is why, because there was no theory involved. It had so much of passion, emotion involved. And it became a movement after that. So it was not planned. Things just happened. So when people ask me that what theory did you follow, I said there is no theory. I just worked, maybe somebody will make a theory out of it, which they have. Now some of the universities have, I think, a chapter on this Reformation. I think JU and Jadavpur University here, and JNU in Delhi, and also Rabindra Bharati University. They have a chapter on this. Well, they have made the theory, I have not. Yes.
So
So how do you manage that everyone of them accept your love and affection?
How did I manage it?
Yes.
You know, you don't plan to love anybody, it happens. Right?